Good evening, everyone. This is Angy Stewart from Miami Inner Light, here, live at Kardec Radio. It's awesome to be here. Good evening, everyone. Another day, another time, another chapter. And if you know anyone that would like to study with us, but this person doesn't have Facebook, so please tell them to go to kardecradio.com so they can hear this talk and also many other talks and study books and lectures and awesome stuff. So tell them to go there, kardecradio.com. And our study, our humble study, we study this book, beautiful book, Thought and Life, by the Spirit of Emmanuel. And if you are new here, if you are new to the study, this is a simple study, and this book is not simple. It's a beautiful book with very, very enlightened messages. And the spirits asked Emmanuel if he could write a book that would be like a guidelines for the spirits that would be reincarnating on earth, guidelines how to better live on earth, how to fulfill our personal missions, our mission to live well on earth and to progress, to do well, to learn with our own mistakes. And that's what Emmanuel did. He wrote a summary, short lessons, and this book has 13 chapters. And we are tonight studying chapter 13. Yes, we already studied 12 chapters. We are almost in the middle of the book. And tonight's lesson is children. Yes, children, these loving beings, so special that sometimes drive us crazy. But it's our mission to guide them. It's our mission to guide these little beings who look so angelic, but who have been living for many, 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 many reincarnations. Sometimes our kids are actually spiritually older than us. Yes, isn't that amazing? Yes, it is possible. And as we do every week, before we start our studies, we would like to invite all of you to connect with your guardian angels, with the good spirits that protect our home. So we would like to do a short prayer, just to relax you and to connect all of us. And just as a reminder, we love to have our water. We believe in Spiritism that the water can be blessed. And we can have our personal medication, even if we're not sick. This will be some special medication to give us boost of energy that we are always in need. So at this moment, I just would like to invite you to relax, close your eyes if you feel comfortable, and just connect. Almighty God, all the good spirits that are with us, our dear brother Jesus, please help us all to be surrounded by your loving light, your beautiful energy, connecting all of us to the superior spirits, the spirits that will be inspiring us to be able to fully understand the messages that the dear Spirit Emmanuel wrote in this book. And later on, also, when we go to study the Gospel according to Spiritism that Allan Kardec codified for all of us. Please stay with us now and ever. Thank you so much. So be it. Very good. Very good. So let's see who are here already. Let's see. This is not working well, but I can see Hercules. My friend Hercules. Very nice seeing you. Awesome. Jackie Rodrigues, Sol Souza. Hey, Sol. Carla Marques, my dear. Daniela Stefanelli, very good. Nice to see you. Oh, look at Rudy. Hey, Rudy, you arrived too. Very good. Awesome. It's so good to see you. Too bad that I can't hug you guys that are in other states, far away from me. I'm in Miami right now, but feel kissed and feel hugged. So, by the way, if you don't have the book, if you don't have this book, whoops, here, you can go to the link I posted in the video and you can follow the studies of tonight. Just a reminder, we are studying chapter 13, children. So I will read it for now. And then when we finish, please, you are welcome to make comments, ask questions, and we can talk together and see what we are going to learn. Children. Children are born with the moral legacy they possess before their birth on the physical plane. Yet, a child will also receive the mental reflexes of its parents and teachers. This imprint on the child's cerebral plate images that influence its whole existence. Undoubtedly, education enriches a child's capability in its new phase of life on earth. It should be remembered, however, that the children's word is not as effective as the spoken word or personal examples. This is because the voice and practical actions contain a great deal of inductive magnetism that is immediately released by reflective action. This produces significant transformations, good or bad, according to the nature of its manifestations. The children entrusted to our care on earth bring a completely new neurocerebral structure that is like a photographic camera, ready to gather impressions. The lens which collects images to project onto the film is represented in the child's mind as a new mirror. The lenses of the soul is comprised of vision, observation, attention, and meditation. The children observe the reflexes of the minds around them, which are then registered within and become their basic elements of conduct. Thus, the young are as dependent upon the spiritual patterns of those who help them at school, as are the dedicated pieces of living clay in the potter's hands. We cannot, therefore, overlook the fact that though children on earth bring with them the effects of their experiences acquired through various incarnations, they are our companions who come back to share our company for a time. They often do so in order to make readjustments with us, as demanded by divine law. For they, as well as we, need these trials and lessons that we all experience doing the task of our regeneration. Within the expiation of those who transcend our evolutionary paths, because the special missions which they are invested. All children are affected by our mental reflexes. They assimilate impressions that become deeply set and lasting. These impressions sometimes follow them from infancy to the shedding of their dense bodies. To create them as mere tokens of affection is to lead them into grave deceptions. It will render them adequately prepared for their redemptive struggle. When their body develops, they can become easily drawn towards minds that thrive in darkness and rebellion. They can therefore relapse into the influence of their past, a relapse that should be avoided and feared. So, every child that is assigned to our guardianship is a living vessel, ever collecting daily images and experiences. It is therefore our duty to instill in children principles of justice and work, brotherhood and order, by accustoming children to early discipline and good deeds through the inductive power of our examples, in the spirit of optimism and hope. As we lovingly receive the child, we should remember that a child's heart is precious urn that keeps collecting our mental reflexes, a trophy that will represent us in that great future in which all of us will live as heirs of our own deeds. Wow. You see how amazing? Emmanuel is amazing. So he basically is explaining that our children, you know, this when they are born, this little thing, so how can I say, inoffensive, like so dependent on us. If we don't take care of these little children, they will die. They need us. They need us all the time. Little babies need us all the time. But then the little babies, they grow. They become little kids. They become a little bit bigger. They become teenagers. Then they become adults. And we, as children also, we will always need our parents. But the difference is when we are little children, we are always dependent on our parents. And little children, they come with, as Emmanuel explains, with their mental reflexes, with their experience, with all their baggage, all their history, what they did of good and what they did of bad. But when they reincarnate, it's almost like they are a new machine. So Emmanuel says they are almost like a photographic camera that's able to capture all the images and register. And it's true. I can also say that it's more like it could be also compared as a sponge, because sponges, you put it on water and absorbs all the water. And the children are like this. They absorb everything, all the information. Sometimes they have this amazing memory. You say one thing and you forget that you said that. For you is not so important. But the children, they remember. And when you last expect, they say, hey, but mom, you told me this, this, and this. And you're like, wow. So that's why we have to be so careful with what we say, with what we do, because they capture that. And when they are very little, we are the main example. So the children, they have the moms and dads are like they're superheroes. So yes, yes, sometimes they think the parents are their superheroes. And that's why we really have to be the good superheroes. I remember when my son was very young, he wanted to be like Superman. And in the time, we used to go to Inner Enlightenment Spiritist Center in New York City. And my dear friend, Eduardo Guimarães, that nowadays lives in Rio, Jensen was very young. And Eduardo said, Jensen, we have an amazing superhero in Spiritism. And then all the other kids, they were like, oh, who is superhero? And then they start saying all kinds of names of superheroes. And Eduardo was like, no, not this one, not this one. Not... And then they were like, whoa, who is the superhero? And then he said, is Jesus, super Jesus. And the kids are like, Jesus is a superhero? And then, you know, you have to understand, they were very young. They were like 4 or 5 years old. And then Eduardo started telling them, this was during the kids class, you know, they were teaching about Jesus, Mary, Jesus' lives, and the Jesus miracles that for the kids, they are really like impressed. So Eduardo was saying, yes, Jesus was able to cure so many people. People were really, really sick, and they brought to him, and Jesus just imposed his hands and removed the fever, made the person to wake up from the dead. The ear of a soldier that was cut, and he touched the ear, glued back, and Jesus could walk on the ocean, and all the kids were like, oh, I want to be super Jesus. And then it was so cute. And it was so cute and so beautiful that later on, when we did like a little class for the kids, everybody wanted to be super Jesus. And then Eduardo said, oh, but wait, we also have Super Mary, we have... And then we start talking about other important superheroes for the kids. And, you know, childish mind absorbs much more than what we imagine. We have to give good examples. That's why when you become a mother, a father, or when you are an aunt, uncle, and you are close to little kids, you really have to try your best. Your behavior is important to that little kids' eyes because they have adults as examples. And when we go back to read Emmanuel, besides they having us as their examples, they have their own background, their own experiences, and their own issues from the past. And when we receive these kids in our family, in our close relationship, they are for us our primary job. Yes, our primary job are the little kids, these beautiful gifts that God entrusted to us for a certain time, certain period of time. It's not that we are owners of our kids. No. We are not owners of our kids. We are entrusted with that spirit for that incarnation. And the most important part of this period of teaching good examples are when they are very young, because that's when this sponge is still very clean and very good to absorb everything. And that's when the little mind that's still not fully connected to the physical body, because the body is growing, you know, the body is growing, is adjusting. That's why we say that sometimes most of the kids up to 7 years old, they are still very connected to the spiritual realm. It's not abnormal for kids up to 7 to be able to see spirits, to have an imaginary friend that sometimes is a spirit. And because they are not fully connected with the physical body, they still can have this natural connection with the spiritual realm. So they are not even afraid. They see things that we cannot see. And they are open to receive more information from us without too much questioning. Because when they get older, when they start approaching the teenage years, their spirit is already connected, and their whole background, their whole spiritual lives how many reincarnations that spirit had, how many good things that spirit have done, and how many mistakes that spirit have done are coming right now, are coming with the spirit. And this can be challenging for parents. It's not easy. Sometimes you see that adorable little thing that was like, mommy, 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 mommy. You start like, no, I'm not doing this. No, I don't want to do that. It's hard for you, like, my God, it's transforming. But it's important for us to guide them. And nowadays that technology is so like instant, it's so automatic, we have to be careful too, because kids are exposed to everything. In one click in the computer, they can search for anything, and sometimes just because it is an internet doesn't mean it's true, or doesn't mean it is good or morally good. So we have to be the first one who will give the information, because we will be trying to do our best. We will try to be guiding them to the best of our knowledge. Even if, you know, you're going to say, well, but some parents, they are not good parents. They didn't do a good job. They did horrible things. They beaten up kids. Yes, it is possible. It is possible. But we have to understand that there are no coincidences. As we mentioned in our last class 2 weeks ago, when we talked about family, there are no coincidences. We are born in the family that we need. We need to improve ourselves and to improve that family group too. And the same thing with the kids. So kids and parents, this connection that is so tight, that is so strong, and sometimes is a blessing, but sometimes is a pain. It's difficult. But if it is difficult, it's because these two spirits, they need to overcome issues from the past. They need to overcome something that was not well resolved in the past. So they come together. Maybe in the past life, they were husband and wife, and they had problems. Who know what happened in their past lives. But then when they discarnate, they go to the spiritual realm, and then they study this book of Emmanuel. And there they learn even deeper about the power of forgiveness. They learn even deeper how much they have to love to be able to progress. And then they accept to come back as a father and daughter, or a mother and son, or mother and daughter. And here, living life, they will start progressing. And that's why sometimes parents say, oh, I have 3 kids, but each one is so difficult. Each one is so different. But one is so easygoing, the personality is so good, positive. The other one, we have a really difficult time together. It's so confusing. It's this and this. And the other one, it's really hard. But he is deeply connected to my husband, and they do well. They do very well together. So right there, we already feel the challenge. And this is in everything in life. Sometimes we connect deeply with friends, and we don't connect with family members. This is called affinity. Yes, we have affinity or not. But when we are in a family, mother, son, daughter, there is the obligation of the parents, especially us. You know, we are here studying Spiritism, understanding that to progress, we need to learn how to love. We really need to learn how to love. And of course, it's much easier to love our children than to love another person, to love an adult, for example. It's much easier for us to be able to love our children. And even like that, people say it's still so difficult. But we have to make the effort. And since very young, we have to teach our children. We can observe many different kids. Like, for example, when my child, he was very young and I used to go to a playground with him, I could observe other kids. The behaviors are very different. And this is good, like when they are together, we can observe the differences in kids. Most of the kids, they can play together, everything is fine. But then usually between the age of 2 or 3, they are super possessive of their belongings. It's funny, but they are really, no, this is mine, and they grab anything, like this pen is mine, and I don't want anybody to touch it. And this is normal. Most of the kids, 2, 3 years old, it's mine. And that's when the mother and father have to come, the uncle, the aunt, grandparents, and have to come and say, no, little Angie, this pen is yours. Yes, but look at this little girl. She would love to borrow it for a little bit. Can you allow her to borrow? Don't you remember we said, like, when you share things, is so nice, the others get so happy, and maybe you will be able to borrow one of her gifts, her toys. And then that's when you start making that kid to understand they can share. And this in America, it's very common and it's very beautiful, because we see everywhere. When you're in a playground with a little kid, you see most of the parents, no, you have to share, give it to her. So little by little, we start correcting the personality, what this kid is doing that's not very good. And we start like helping, improving. And we have to plant the seed. We have to plant the seed of love there for everything. So when they are very young, that's when we have this opportunity to correct. If you see a little kid sees a bird and has this instinct of taking a little stone and throwing in the bird, sometimes not trying to kill the bird, but to scare the bird, to make the bird run away. Or the kid is running and is trying to punch the cat. We have to see it and say, no, you don't do that. The animals, they are loving beings that Jesus created to us to be our companions, our friends. So we love birds. We don't throw stones anywhere. Who knows? You don't know. Maybe this kid in the past, he used to participate of shootings of birds. He was an Englishman that was used to and now this Englishman is your son. And you wanted to start like correcting, to start teaching. No. We love birds. The same thing with the plants, with the environment. We go to places and we see people, they drink things and they throw garbage on the floor. And that's the opportunity again to teach. Sometimes we don't remember to teach. We have to take every step in our lives to be able to be a lesson like Jesus did. There was nothing in Jesus' life that wasn't a teaching. Every little thing Jesus did was a teaching. Was a teaching that had to be understood, that had to be analyzed, but there was some kind of message in anything that Jesus did. And we should do the same. So we are walking on the street with our little kid. We see somebody throwing a garbage on the floor. Maybe there was no garbage can or whatever, but you saw somebody throwing a garbage on the floor. What do? If you can, you should take that and bring that to a garbage and you throw in the garbage. So you are teaching your kid. So next time when your kid finished the little bag of snack and gonna throw on the floor, The little kid's gonna think, ooh, that's not good to throw on the floor because my mother said I'm dirtying the environment and I want the streets to be beautiful, like my home. I want the streets to be clean. So it's nice to walk on the streets and see it to be clean. And why? Because I'm a good person. I want to preserve my environment. I love Earth. So I try to reuse. I try to recycle. And you start little by little explaining things. When somebody comes and is aggressive to you, instead of you engaging in a fight, you retract and if possible, you even say, I'm sorry. I didn't want to do that. And the young kid is seeing, and it's like, whoa, my mother did that. So we start thinking, and we start inputting in this sponge, in this photographic camera, beautiful messages. These messages will stay with our kids, and our kids start growing, and then we'll start questioning us many other things. Why would you do this? How do you do this? And then you have this opportunity to be able to be this teacher. And and as Emmanuel mentioned here, this kid is input in an environment. Yes, is the environment of our home. What is around this kid? Is aggressiveness, is all kinds of pain, or is love, is tenderness, is work. What is surrounding? Is some kind of I always believe also that we have to give the opportunity to our children to know a religion, a philosophy. A lot of people say, no. I don't want to teach any kind of religion because I want my child to decide for themselves whatever they will want to be. I agree with you in part because they are little. At this age, when they are young, they cannot decide anything. And they have no way of deciding. So if you don't have a religion or a philosophy of life, like we say that Spiritism is a philosophy of life. There are many people with open mind. They are from different religions and they follow the teachings of Spiritism. But if you don't teach anything for your child will grow up like without any kind of a base, without any kind of knowledge. And when the children to grow up, when they become a young adult, that's right after the teenagehood, young adulthood, that's the time when they are more rebellious. That's the time they are not into religion at all. It's usually the time of fun, party time. So these spirits, usually they can care less about religion. So they will not search for religion. And then later on, when they become adults, that the problems start happening, and then they get very unbalanced because they don't know how to deal with whatever is going on. They don't even have a base. So if these young spirits, they had a base of Spiritism, for example, when they grow up, they can decide if they still feel comfortable with Spiritism or if they want to do something else, or if they want to be Buddhists, Catholics, or Protestant, whatever. But you gave the base, and that's exactly everything. It summarizes everything we are saying. We as parents, we have this obligation, is a divine obligation to be good examples for our kids. Because when we were in the spiritual realm, we accepted this job. Yes, we are not the parents for a mere coincidence. Woo! I got pregnant. Oh, I'm going to hire a nanny and she will take care. And then I will send to the best school ever. And we'll have a fantastic education. Woo! Yes, it will have a fantastic education. But we know the best education of all is the moral education that we learn with people very, very close to us. Usually our mom, dad, uncle, aunts, grandparents, especially in this society that everybody's so super busy. More and more parents are leaving their grandkids with their own parents. So these beings will be the ones who will be giving love to them, who will be teaching them. Yes, a lot of people say, oh, I have no time, so I pay a very loving nanny and the nanny takes care. Yes, sometimes there are really loving nannies, really loving nannies. They really learn to love our children, but sometimes they are just good employees. They do the basic, but they don't have that feeling that a mother and a father would have. And this feeling is what connects us, and that's what we have to give to our little loving vessels, as Emmanuel mentioned. So we have to learn to take this opportunity and do the best we can, to teach them. So when they become teenagers and the rebellious age will come, they will still have the seed we planted there, the seed that taught them good qualities, respect, love, forgiveness. We brought them to understand about Jesus, about the moral qualities, and then they will become a loving individuals. And when they grow up, then they can decide what they think would be better for their own lives. So this is very, very important for us to talk about. Let me see if you guys asked anything here. Jackie Rodriguez, I'm not finding Readers online. Where do I find the link? Oh, Jackie, it's right here. If you look on the video, if you look at the bottom, you're gonna see book pages, and there is the Facebook page of Miami Inner Light. If you go to the Facebook page of Miami Inner Light, the book pages are there. You can just go to, I put the link here, but if you don't find, go to Miami Inner Light, pictures, and you're gonna see the pictures of the books, and you can click and follow. I'm sorry, I just saw it now. Rudy, example and discipline. Discipline and example, very good. Exactly, Rudy. You just summarized the lecture. That's it. Example, discipline, and love. Because we have to do it in a loving way. We are not military people. You know, that's why parents, they sometimes they look so hard. I remember my parents, as I mentioned last week, my parents were very tough. Very tough. But it probably was because I needed in that time. You know, teenagers are difficult. So I needed that. And later on, they were very easygoing. But I think it's because I also changed my personality. I changed. I was easier. So they were able to be easier with me. And that's how we have to be. Sylvia Otero, hello from Seattle. Oh, Sylvia, hello, Seattle. This is awesome. We have people from so many different states here. This is very good. So, my friends, we have to go to the next part of our class. Now we go to the gospel according to Spiritism. So, I hope you grasped the message of children. Children are always blessings from God, and we have to take this beautiful opportunity to be able to guide them in this incarnation. So now we are going to go to the gospel according to Spiritism. And if you have the book, we are reading the introduction of the book. And at this moment, we are reading number 3, historical facts. So historical facts are very important because we see so many movies, we read so many books, and many times we see words that we hear all the time, but we really don't understand what does it mean, and we don't understand what it used to mean in the time of Jesus, because, you know, vocabulary changes so quickly, and in the time of Jesus might have a different meaning of what it really means right now. And let me just read the comment of Daniela before we start. It can be overwhelming sometimes with young kids when they depend on you to do everything. Oh, yes. I feel like praying and meditating helps a lot to keep positive, especially when we are overtired. You said everything. Yes, Daniela, as we always mention, when we are able to pray, we connect with our guardian angel. So we get this extra energy that sometimes we need. And you, as a mom of three, it is hard. Three little ones, three very young ones, super close age. So it gets more difficult. But everything in life, if we could take a little minute, even to go to the bathroom, close our eyes, and please, God, help me to overcome this difficulty. Help me to be calmer. Help me to be a good mother. Give me strength. Give me patience. Help my children to go to sleep fast. Yes, sometimes we need sleep. So this helps us, and prayer is always a blessing. And we learn all the time that the meditation is another powerful tool. Meditation is a tool that we are able to really connect. So I don't remember now who said that, but I remember a person who said that the prayer, you are talking to God, and meditation, you are listening to God. So I love that, and it's true. So when you pray, you are talking, you are asking, you are saying things, you are giving thanks for so many blessings we receive. And when we are meditating, we are reflecting on our lives, on our issues, on our problems, on our lots of happiness that sometimes we don't realize, and we listen to God's answer. So very good. Sylvia said, I agree, Daniela, just strong, stay strong, blessings. Yes, Daniela, mom of three, oh my God, I have only one. So guys, let's go. Historical facts in the gospel number 3, and we already read about the Samaritans, Nazarites, publicans, tax collectors, Pharisees, and the scribes. And tonight we start with synagogue. So let's go. Synagogue, from the Greek synagogue, meaning assembly, congregation. In Judea, there was only one temple, that of Solomon, in Jerusalem, where the great ceremonies of Jewish worship were celebrated. Every year, the Jews would go there on pilgrimage for the principal festivals such as Passover, the Feast of Dedication, and the Feast of the Tabernacles. It was on such occasions that Jesus made a number of journeys to Jerusalem. So Jesus went many times to Jerusalem, not one time as a lot of people think, but many times to Jerusalem. The other cities did not have temples, but only synagogues. Buildings where the Jews would gather on the Sabbath to offer public prayers under the leadership of the elders, the scribes, or the doctors of the law. There were also readings taken from the sacred books, which were explained and commented on. Everybody could take part in them. And that's why Jesus, although not a priest, taught in the synagogues on Sabbath days. After the downfall of the Jerusalem and the diaspora, the synagogues in the cities they inhabited served as temples for the celebration of the cult. So very interesting, very interesting. So we learned that didn't have synagogues in every city. So synagogues really only had, here is the example, that there was only one in Judea. I'm sorry, in Judea there was only the temple of Solomon. In Jerusalem, there were great ceremonies of Jewish people were celebrated. So in Jerusalem, they had the synagogue. So they had festivals that happened there. So people travel from many areas to be able to go to Jerusalem, to be able to go to participate of this ceremonies that happened in the synagogue. And also that in the synagogue, that's where they learned, they were taught the sacred books, and that's where the elders or the scribes or the doctors of the law, they could teach. And that's why Jesus, even if Jesus was not a priest, he could also teach in the synagogue on the Sabbath day. So the Sabbath day was a special day that everyone could talk in the synagogue. That's why Jesus was able to go there and talk to everybody to listen. So this is very, very interesting. So we are going to read about these other ones, and we're going to make short comments, because sometimes it's not that there is so much to talk about, but it's important for us to understand, to know the difference. What is this and what is that? So when we read the books, we will be able to understand. I don't know if you guys had the opportunity to read the beautiful book 2000 years ago. And this book talks about the life of Jesus, talks about what was happening in the time of Jesus, and also is one of the reincarnations of Emmanuel. And many of these names that we are reading, they are said there. So this helps us even when we are going to read a beautiful romance as this one. I tell everyone, if you can read this book, you are going to fall in love with this book. I remember many, many, many years ago, when I was reading this book for the first time, I was on vacation in North Carolina. I was on vacation in North Carolina on the swimming pool of our hotel. And I was so involved with the book, so involved. So it was so intense that I had the book and I was like, and I was crying so much, like crying like a family member died. And it was so difficult because I couldn't stop crying of a so connected with the moment, with the book is so deep, the description there. If you close your eyes, you really feel you are traveling in time. And for me, that was happening that moment. And it was funny because I couldn't even, I couldn't even pretend that I was not crying, because I was just like, and then turning the page, I was like, and then I remember like crying effusively. I put the book like this to breathe, and then I look to the front. When I look, I had like 20 people like this. Some people even with the sunglasses like this. And then I realized, like, oh my God, the whole swimming pool was looking at me. So I took my sunglasses and I put my sunglasses, and I was like, oh my God. People probably were thinking, my God, this woman is crazy. But they don't understand the power of our Spiritist novel. Because, a Spiritist novel is something that really happened. It's not like an invention of an imagination of somebody, a great author with a great imagination. No, it's a description of things that really happened. And when I read the Spiritist novels, I kind of imagine, if I were there, what would I do? Would I try to interact in a positive way? Or will I be one of these people who really did all kinds of bad things? And when I think, I realize, yes, I probably was there. I'm super ultra connected with Italy. So Rome, especially, the connection is ultra powerful. I learned Italian alone. Everybody that knows me knows that. And probably I was there doing something that was not very good, because if I was there doing something good, I probably would be in a much better spiritual condition than right now. So that's why I think when I read these books, especially books related to what happened to Jesus, books related to Italy and Rome, it's very tough for me. It's like almost like I remember that I should have done something better and I didn't. But God is marvelous. That's why we have reincarnations, new opportunities to do good. And that's why in this life I'm here talking good things, trying to do a little bit of what I didn't 2,000 years ago. So let's go. So Sadducees, let's go, Sadducees, a Jewish sect that was formed around 248 years before Christ, named after Zadok, its founder. The Sadducees did not believe in immortality of the soul, the resurrection, or good and evil angels. Nonetheless, they believed in God, but expecting nothing after death. They served God only with the objective of temporal recompense, to which, according to them, divine providence was limited. Furthermore, the satisfaction of the senses was, in their view, the essential objective of life. Oh my goodness! As for the scriptures, they held to the text of the ancient Torah, accepting neither tradition nor any interpretation. They placed good deeds on the pure and simple observation of the law above outward worship practices. They were the materialists and deists, the sensualists of the time. This sect was few in number, but it entailed important persons and became a political party constantly opposed to the Pharisees. Very interesting, very interesting. So I didn't know so many details about the Sadducees. Well, I knew, I read the gospel so many times, but it's something that didn't stay in my mind. I didn't remember all these details. So it's important for us to understand. So the Sadducees, they did not believe in immortality of the soul, did not believe in the resurrection like they all believed in that time. They didn't believe in good or bad angels. Very interesting. So they were strictly observing the law, and as the Kardec explains, they were the materialists of the time. Very interesting. So let's go. The Essenes, a Jewish sect founded around 150 before Christ. During the time of the Maccabees, its members lived in a type of monastery and formed amongst themselves a sort of a moral and religious association. They were distinguished by their pacifist customs and austere virtues. They taught the love of God and one's neighbor, the immortality of the soul, and they believed in the resurrection. They lived in celibacy, condemned slavery and war, held all their assets in common, and devoted themselves to agriculture. Unlike the sensual Sadducees, who denied the immortality, and the Pharisees, who were rigid in their outward practices, and in whom virtue was only apparent, the Essenes took no part in the quarrels dividing the other two sects. Their gender of life approached that of the first Christians, and the moral principles they professed had led some people to believe that Jesus had belonged to this sect before beginning of his public mission. What is certain is that he must have known about it, but nothing proves that he was affiliated with them. And all that has been written in this respect is hypothetical. So it's very interesting for us to understand about the essence, because just reading these little characteristics, you already can understand they were more elevated morally than the Sadducees, who were very materialistic, and also from the Pharisees, who are always rigid, super ultra rigid to the law. If you don't do this, you go to hell. If you don't do that, you are against the law. And the essence, they didn't have these issues. They were mild. If you read here, you're like, wow, they were really elevated. And as we know, from all times, we had always different levels of spirits living on earth. And you can imagine, because it's as Kardec says, everything is hypothetical. You can imagine they were more elevated spirits. And for sure, Jesus, who created the planet Earth, who is the governor of the planet Earth, I'm sure he knew these different types of spirits, and he knew the essence were a group of spirits that got together because of what we mentioned before. Affiliation. It's like this connection that we have from one to another. When we think alike, we get connected. So that's how they got connected, and they created their own little community. So we have time to finish, so let's go. The last one is called the therapeutes. From the Greek therapeuta, therapeuti, to serve, to care for, meaning servants of God or healers. Jewish sectarians and contemporaries of Christ, established principally in Alexandria, Egypt. They had great relations with the essence, whose principles they professed. Like the essence, they devoted themselves to practicing all the virtues. Their nourishment was extreme frugality, devoted to celibacy, contemplation, and the solitary life. Wow. They comprised a true religious order. Philon, a Platonic Jewish philosopher from Alexandria, was the first to refer to the therapeutes, considering them a sect of Judaism. Eusebius, Saint Jerome, and other church fathers thought they were Christians. Whether they were Jews or Christians, it's obvious that, like the essence, they formed a link of union between Judaism and Christianity. Wow, very, very nice. So as we can see, the therapeutes, they had lots of things in common with the essence, and they were also more morally elevated than the other ones. You can imagine, we have to understand that in that time, the spirits who were incarnated in that time were primitive spirits. We were there, and we were primitive spirits. But you can see the difference between this type of people and the other ones we described before. They were more loving. They understood things that the other ones didn't understand. They had to live in frugality, devoting their lives to celibacy, to a solitary life of contemplation, meditation. So this is very beautiful. So we can see how God is wonderful. He doesn't put all kinds of problems together. He puts different types of people. It's like we are a beautiful garden. And the garden, there are many types of roses, many types of flowers. Some are red, some are yellow, some are big, some are tiny little ones. And like a beautiful rose, have the little, how do you say, the little sting there? Forgot the name. That if you touch, you will bleed. But the beautiful rose is there. And this is how humanity is. We are all different. But in our essence, we are all beautiful roses. Sometimes we are that rose that's waiting a little bit to open up. Needs more work. But God, as this amazing garden, is always giving us new opportunities to come back and flourish. Wow, I'm philosophical today. So I'm super excited because we finished the number 4. This is awesome. We finished within our time imperfection. And the next time we are going to come back to the gospel to read about Socrates and Plato. This is my favorite part in the gospel according to Spiritism. Because when you study a little bit about Socrates and Plato, you're like, wow, these spirits, they incarnated on earth 400 years before Jesus Christ. Yes, 400 years before Jesus came to earth. So they are spirits that really had a baggage of knowledge, because later on, when we are going to study about what they understood, what they practiced, especially Socrates, you will be amazed. You will start thinking that Socrates was a spiritist and he didn't know. Of course, Spiritism didn't exist, but Socrates was a precursor of it, because his messages and his understanding of life after life, beautiful, amazing. So this is exciting, guys. Oh, look who arrived, Raquel. Raquel, beautiful mama. You also have so many kids. Oh my God. You missed this study today. You have to go back and listen. You listen because you live it. So now, 10:03, we have to close our study, and it was a blessing to be here with all of you. I hope I could help you to understand a little bit, and I sincerely hope you will come back and we can continue our study, because it's good when we can study together, when we can listen to somebody else talking about a book that when we read alone, sometimes it's more difficult to comprehend. But when we listen to somebody else talking, it's a little bit easier. So thank you so much for all of you here. It's always a blessing to have you. It's always a blessing to be here in Kardec Radio. And I hope you can come back. So now we will invite all of you to, again, relax, close your eyes if you feel comfortable, and we are going to do our final prayer. Dear Master Jesus, thank you so much for staying with us tonight, helping us to connect with these beautiful ideas of these 2 books, helping us to understand a little bit more of the life in the time you were here, incarnated on earth. Thank you so much for the blessings of the children. Even if we don't have children ourselves, we can see the little ones, and their smiles and their laughs bring so much happiness in our lives. Thank you so much, Master, for giving us the opportunity to be able to reincarnate and to better ourselves, helping us to be a little bit better than what we were yesterday, today, in our next life. Please guide us, protect us, help all of us to have another beautiful week, and if possible, help us to come back again in 2 weeks to continue our study. Thank you so much. So be it. So thank you so much, everybody. Have a blessed night. It was great to see all of you here. Bye, Rudy. Mwah! See Silvia Otero Souza, Emmanuel Dizon, very, very good to have you here. It was a blessing to be here. Hopefully I will see you again soon. Have a great night. Bye-bye.